or stava is, let me get back to something. Because I see some people join later and thought is broken, the connection. The stava, stotra patha, is the singing the glories of the Lord. Okay? Please note, we are just singing the glory of the Lord, not praising the Lord. There is a very popular misconception or a wrong translation. Stotra means praising the Lord. That's not the question. Because when, first of all, understand why I say so. When we sing the glory of the Lord, you see, you are reminded of omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, etc. All the glories of the Lord. And when I see that, at least I see mentally the meaning of those words, then I become humble. It invokes a devotee. It invokes an attitude of surrender. So we sing the glories of the Lord. Now, why do we not say we are praising the Lord? Okay, for two reasons. You cannot praise the Ishvara. The flattery, as they say, a typical Gujarati or Hindi usage. When you call up someone and the mom is doing some prayer, or the teenage children say this, mom is applying butter to Bhagavan, masko lagave, Bhagavan ko maska lagati hai. Thoda khush, praising the Lord. She's just praising the Lord. And there is another statement which is all prevalent in India, especially Hindi belt. Khushamat to khuda ko bhi pyari hoti. So if you do flattery, they say in Urdu, the flattery pleases even to the Lord. So Lord also loves that he may be flattered. This is not true for two reasons. The Lord's virtues or Lord's glories are so much that you don't even know, or your limited buddhi cannot know what He is. So where is the question of praising and where is the question of flattering the Ishvara? You just cannot do that, because whatever you say is not enough for the Ishvara. Even Bhagavan himself, when Arjuna asked, Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi Bhagavan maya, oh Ishvara, tell me your glories. So the 10th chapter of Gita, Bhagavad Gita, is called Vibhuti Yoga, description of all the glories by the Lord himself. He gave some list of his own glories when Arjuna asked him. But then in the end he said, it is not the end, but to conclude, he said, Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parant. Oh Arjuna, oh Parant, there is no end to my glories. Wherever yadyad vibhuti mat sattvam, whatever that exists, which is something more than normal, something glory, some glory in it, know it to be my glory. And he himself said, there is no end to my glories. So, whatever you say about the Ishvara is not enough. There is a question of flattery. There is a question of praising. If you say something more than what the person is, then there is a praise. If you can say something more than what the person is, then there is a flattery. If you say a peon in the office boy, hey, you are a general manager, then there is a praise or flattery. But to a general manager, if you say you are a general manager, he says, yeah, I am a general manager. What's the big deal about it? So maximum you can say it's a statement of fact. Nothing more than that you can say. Moreover, who can be flattered? Who will feel flattered? The one who is not flattered, who is deflected, would feel flattered. inflated. One who has a self-opinion, low self-opinion. When the Ishvara who knows I am everything, where is the question of getting flattered? You cannot flatter Ishvara. Bhagavan ko khushamad pyari ho hi nahi sakti. This is a wrong statement. He knows aham purnaha. I am complete. I am all pervasive. So where is the question that he can be flattered? He is all. He is everything. So Ishvara is not the praise of Ishvara, but it is singing the glories of Ishvara. And why do we sing? To bring about an attitude of surrender, to bring about an attitude of devotion in us that is called stavaha, stotra. You can chant one stotra, you can chant 1,000 names. As I said, Mahimna Stotra is also Stava Patha, or Rudram chanting is also Stava Patha. Vishnu Sahasranam chanting is also Stava Patha. There are few commonly done chanted stotras. You may chant some stotra of Devi also. Chanting Hanuman's Chalisa, which is very popular in the northern belt, that is also Stava Patha. Then japa comes in. As I explained to you the importance of japa, all the religion and even Bhagavan himself emphasized the need for japa, abhyasena tu kaunteya, and in japa, mind has lesser scope of wandering, lesser scope of seeking support, scaffolding, and very few words. In Stotra Patha, there may be so many words, but in case of Japa, there is only one word. It is only one mantra. Maybe one word or whole mantra, but it is only one. Generally, this mantra is received from a competent teacher who himself or herself has done Japa, or he or she has a lifestyle of devotee or knowledge, and it helps one to the grace of the teacher, Guru, and his upasana itself helps one so that one can concentrate and one can get the benefits of japa. But then it is not mandatory, for Bhagavan himself is Adi Guru. Who is the first teacher? The first teacher is Ishvara. So, just keeping yourself in the presence of the Ishvara, being in front of that Ishvara, you can just select a mantra and do the japa. However, it is good to have from a competent teacher. Which mantra to chant? It is, all the mantras are equally efficacious. Important is one should take a mantra of one's own Ishta Devata. When I say Ishta Devata, means that form of Ishvara with which you are naturally attracted, with which attracted to, with which you can naturally easily gel with it. That Devata mantra one should receive from a teacher and do. When you keep one mantra, and if received from a competent teacher, and you repeat it for some time, that mantra shakti, as they call it, the power of that particular mantra opens up, and it opens up in both ways. If it is done with a desired end in mind, it helps one to gain that desired end. And if it is done for moksha, or if it is done to gain attitude of surrender, stronger attitude of surrender towards Ishvara, whatever is the purpose of doing japa, the power of mantra helps one to achieve that particular demand. And when I say that Devata mantra, Ishta Devata mantra, that form of Ishvara which can bring about an attitude of surrender, which can bring about an attitude of love towards the form of the Ishvara. You can feel the divinity around that mantra one should take. Okay? One more thing, while doing japa, don't try to think of the meaning of the japa, nor while doing japa, try to think about the form of Ishvara. Like suppose you are doing Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. While chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, I am going down to Shiva, and don't think of a Shivalinga or some puja or some Shungara or whatever. No, you cannot. Mind cannot and mind need not try, because it cannot think of three things or two things at a time. Okay? Devata, meaning, and mantra, three things at a time. Or mantra and devata. Chanting this mantra, you try to see the form Ishvara. Suppose you are doing Krishna mantra, Jai Shri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sharanam Mama, etc. Then you try to visualize Sri Krishna in your mind and try to chant. It cannot. Mind cannot do two jobs. Either it can think of the form of the Lord, or it can do mantra. If you try both, one of them will become mechanical. Either you will see only the form, which generally people try, and then chanting becomes mechanical, it goes on its own. Moreover, japa is a shabda pradhana, natu artha pradhana. Okay, in japa, predominance or the importance or the potentiality of its power doesn't lie in understanding or repeating or holding on to bhava of the meaning of the mantra, rather than you just shabda pradhana. It is the power of the sound that is being invoked. Okay? And you cannot translate and do japa mantra also, because I said shabda pradhana. So power of the words creates that phalam. So you cannot have Om Namah Shivaya. I bow down to Shiva. 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 That doesn't have that power or that effect as the word Om Namah Shivaya has. Okay? Now, this is about mantra. Now, first, how to do japa? Then they say, japa is done, Uccha japa. You chant so loudly that almost everybody in the room can hear. And you too can hear again the sound that comes back to you. So that is Uccha japa. Sound loudly, chanting loudly, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, or Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, etc., etc. Secondly, Manda japa. You chant in a so low tone, only the person sitting next to you may hear or may not hear. Sometimes it sounds like just murmuring. You only can overhear yourself. Nobody else can hear. That kind of chanting is called Manda japa. And lastly, Manasa japa. The activity at the level of tongue is also given up. Most of the physical activities are given up. By what? By doing stotra patha or japa. You may do stotra and keep clapping yourself. Or you may be just shaking the body and get absorbed into some bhajan, etc. But there is a minimum movement of the body. Only the upper part of the trunk is used sometimes. And sometimes that is also not used. They may clap and chant dhoon, etc., etc., but not otherwise. Now, further up that support is given a physical movement, you just chant mantra. That is also reduced when it becomes a low tone japa. And finally, manasa japa, where you give up the support of the tongue also, you mentally chant the mantra. And that manasa japa itself is dhyana. Okay? And that is uttamam kramat. That is more efficacious in order. Means the previous one is less efficacious and the next one is more efficacious in itself. So, manasa japa itself is dhyana. I shall talk about dhyanam in the next class, something more. But here let me complete one thing about japa. See, japa is very useful in many which way. First of all, as I said, it is the means to develop necessary concentration. It is a means to develop some degree of mastery over one's mind. It provides one handle to not to get carried away by certain emotions or certain outbursts of the emotions. And it helps us to gain pure mind, Shuddha Antakaranam, Ekagra Antakaranam, and it helps one to discover the self. It is a means for Nididhyasan also. Now look at this. How does it work and how it can help? Before trying to understand how it is useful, let us understand what is the problem that we have as of now. When you say mind is restless, when you say my mind is not under my control, when one says, Swamiji, my mind creates the problem, please understand what is the problem. What do you mean by restlessness? That the mind moves away from one object of thought to another object of thought is a blessing. Okay? It's a big blessing for two reasons. Since it changes, we are able to do quite a few types of activity. We are not confined to only one kind of activity because the mind has a capacity to change, and that to change quickly. You can change the activity fast. You can comprehend them and you can respond to a situation because it changes. Especially, it is like driving in India. When you are driving in India, you have to negotiate the traffic that comes from the front, that comes from behind, and that comes from the sides also. You have to negotiate all those traffics. And the mind gets all the data all the time. And it changes. Every thought is there because it has to change. It has to know that. And since it changes, you can negotiate the traffic. It can respond quickly. So, it is a blessing that the mind is changing. It is a blessings that mind thinks. People, some of them, I will discuss this in the meditation. They think to be thoughtless is meditation. Giving up all the thoughts is meditation. If that was the goal, that human beings should be thoughtless, Bhagavan would not have given you the mind which thinks. That mind thinks itself is not a problem. That mind, since it thinks, it can know, it can imagine, it can infer. So many things is possible. And fact that it changes, you can conduct your vyavhara. Since it changes so fast, multitasking is also possible. Because you do 2-3 things at a time so quickly, one by one by one. So it's a blessing. Now, what is the problem that we are trying to address by doing japa is this. As I said, changing mind or thinking mind itself is not an issue. Okay? Understand, please. What happens? The mind has develops over a period a tendency to think in a particular way. When I say particular way means what? As you grow, your input, data input is so much in the mind. Input about the world, and there is a big memory about your views about the worldly objects and worldly situations and worldly people. Your likes and dislikes are there. What happens in day-to-day life? When you start a conversation, mind moves from one topic to another topic. From second to the third to the fourth. Especially when you see people gathering together in a meeting or some family get together or some party, men usually end up with politics about Donald Trump or Narendra Modi or the policies or the opposition in India. They end up over there. They might have started the discussion with the office. They might have started the discussion with just a texture of somebody's clothes. Oh, it's a nice cloth. Where did you buy it? And then that fellow says, where did you get it? Then the fellow says, I went to India last 2 months ago and I bought it from Bombay. Oh, you went to Bombay? It was available there. Yeah, it's a handicraft. Where from? Rajasthan. Oh, I had to admit Rajasthan. And we had seen those deserts or something like that. But the arrangements were not good. In India, the roads were also bad. The weather was also bad and end up into politics. Government doesn't do anything, that's the end. There's a tendency. What tendency? It creates a sense of frustration, sense of despair, sense of helplessness, sense of anger, sense of pain, sense that I am unlucky or I'm stuck with or others are bad or I am bad or whatever. That end comes all the time. You start with anything like the spokes of the wheel. It may be at any end of the wheel, but one end is connected to the hub, the center. The central tendencies, which are often depressive, frustrating, helpless, that the mind comes to that. This is called, you can say, habitual thinking. And that is, to some extent, reaction. Some unfulfilled emotions, some undigested or unresolved reactions to your experiences, they control you. To some extent, you can say, unconscious controls the conscious thinking. All these things are there under the carpet of the conscious mind. And they are waiting for expression at a proper time or even improper time. They think this is proper time for us to come out. And they just come out and take you for a ride. They take you somewhere. So you must start with something but end up in something. This is called mechanical thinking. by law of association of memory, association of ragadvesha, association of some feelings, then that mindering thinking, unbridled thinking takes place. Mind just meanders around and goes to something and ends up in sense of unpleasantness, a sense that I am dukhi, a sense that I am unhappy. It generally ends up there. And so, to stop this mindering of the mind, to stop this directionless wandering, like they say, we went on a long ride. Long ride means no idea where to go, just went. So, that long ride thinking needs to be addressed. Please note this. I repeat, please note this. This is the problem during waking state, which is recognized when you do japa. People say this is a problem during japa, but it is just the opposite. The problem not during the japa, you have this problem throughout the day, that which you don't notice, you just gloss over. You are just unconscious about yourself. You are unattentive about yourself. You don't look at yourself, and then you discover the problem only when you are doing japa. It is not that the problem is there while doing japa. The problem is there all the time, and during japa you see the problem. So what happens, in a common, I can give nth number of examples to this thinking of the mind by association. The fellow is doing just japa, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and he had somehow heard that Lord is a savior. he releases me from the samsara, bondage of samsara. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Oh Bhagavan, take me to yourself, to your abode. Let me be released from this samsara. This samsara is full of dukkha, so much of dukkha. Now look at this corona. My God, what a killer pandemic. My God, what a situation. Then goes on. He started with the Lord, seeking the Lord for moksha, got into corona, and has all the data in his mind. And now that is the advantage of social media and electronic media, and then creates a sense of fear within himself or herself. And that often leads to sense of helplessness. Or any which way, it is like the kaleidoscopic design. You know, the kaleidoscope, as a children we used to see that. Every time you shake a new design, so also there is a new design. You may say, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Bhagavan, relieve me from this samsara. Take me to your abode. Your abode is a divine abode. It's all full of happiness, full of joys. Will it be like America? Om Namah Shivaya. From Kailasa, the fellow goes to America. Or somebody can go to some other direction. I know that Lord Shiva is accompanying ghost, and all those fellows are accompanying. If I go to Shivaloka, will they not catch me? Om Namah Shivaya. All kinds of pattern. That each of us know this well, I need not elaborate. And if you don't know, you start doing japa. Nowadays you are at home because of corona. It's a good opportunity to start japa, and then you will discover how the mind goes. And at the end of it, when you feel helpless suddenly, oh my God, it is so pandemic. It is spreading in India. I have to be careful, and anybody, through any which way it can come to me. Even it can come to me through newspaper also. Lord Yama can travel through newspaper. Lord Yama can travel through my milk pouch. Any which way he can come. What will happen to me? Oh God, save me. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Suddenly the Om Namah Shivaya comes. Whatever mantra, Jai Shri Krishna or Shri Krishna Saram Mama or Devi mantra, when you find helpless, again you come back. Then again you get lost. So when you do whole mala, hardly 10-20% of the beads you have repeated consciously. And you say, people say, Swamiji, whenever I do japa, mind wanders. It is not wandering of the mind, it is habitual thinking born out of law of association of raga dvesha, association of your unconscious, association of your memory. The mind wanders. This is to be arrested. That is called mastering the mind. When you use the word controlling the mind, people think that we have to control the quality and the quantity and the direction of the thoughts. Quantity of the thoughts needs to be controlled, direction of the thought needs to be controlled, and quality of the thought also should be controlled. In other words, reduced and almost to the extent of to be nullified. No, that's not the meaning. Mastery over the mind means whatever I think is a deliberate thinking. This is all mechanical thinking, as I said. This is unbridled thinking. No, I change the topic. I change, but I am conscious about the change, and I do it deliberately. That is needed, and that can be obtained through japa. Okay? Because here, what is the next thought? You don't know. What is the next mantra, shabda? You don't know. But when you chant only one mantra, that means Om Namah Shivaya, then again Om Namah Shivaya. Again Om Namah Shivaya. Again Om Namah Shivaya. So there is no connecting link other than Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. When you do it consciously, you can focus on one mantra for a length of time. And to do that, you have to be conscious about the movements of the mind. One has to note the distraction of the mind. And when it gets distracted, you call back. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamyetat atmanneva vasham. Yasmat karana. For whatever reason, for whatever nimitta, whatever may be the object or the person or the situation to distract your mind. That's okay, whatever it may be. Then whenever you know, you bring back. That's the only way to gain relative mastery. That mind will move. It has been moving away for so many birds. That mind will get distracted. It is also normal. It is not abnormal not to get distracted. It is not abnormal not to think something other than mantra. Will happen. It's okay. I accept it. But whenever I notice it, I come back and restart again. Okay? It is like anger is there, accepted. Pain is there, accepted. There is a hurt from the spouse, there is a pain for the spouse or given by the spouse, whatever it is. There is a pain, it's okay. But you have to not let yourself being carried away by that pain, by that anger. That you have anger is understandable. But then I need to manage my anger, that is my freedom. That you have so much of hurt and pain and etc. in your unconscious, There are so many reasons for distraction, that's fine. But I need to address it and gain relative handle over my ways of thinking. When you do it that way, when you are conscious about yourself, the movement of your mind, over a course of time, you discover a pattern. You discover a pattern generally used by your given mind. And when you discover, you are forewarned is forearmed. And thereby, by practice of japa, one can gain relative mastery over the mind, meaning thereby mastery about the ways of thinking. Mastery over the mind means no more mechanical thinking, no more reactive thinking, no more impulsive thinking on my part. And that is called the mastery over the mind. And during japa, there is another thing which Pujya Swamiji often used to help us to do, that you can observe the silence between the two mantras, and that observing the silence between the two mantras itself becomes a nididhyasana that we will see when we discuss about Atma and something about meditation. I will take on that. During japa, mind will get distracted, and whenever you notice the distraction, bring back the mind and start again. Okay? The distraction is an expression of habitual thinking. Distraction is an expression of unbridled thinking, mechanical thinking. It is expression of powerful unconscious that takes care of the takes charge of the conscious mind and makes it to think in one way. So that will happen, and that is a problem during the waking state. Also, when you do japa, you become alert and conscious about the ways of thinking. You discover your pattern, as they call it. The pattern how you think, the pattern how you get angry, the pattern how you get frustrated, the pattern how you develop despair, that you discover. And before it starts working, you stop it and keep doing the japa again and again. That is the methodology. And since japa involves the name of the Lord, then when you do it consciously, it helps to gain relative mastery over the mind. And when it involves Ishwar Nama, any chanting of Bhagavat Nama, name of the Lord, is a punya which cleanses the antakarana. So Ishwara Nama Japa is a means for antakarana shuddhi as well. And it gives you chitta ekagram, which is the primary purpose of it. You get mastery over the mind, and you get purity of the mind when you do Ishvara Nama Japa. I will explain a little further about this in the next class and take it to the next step, meditation. We will see. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Namaha Hari Om. Now